Neil, a free weekend, was it good news that or unwelcome?
Well, it's it's only good news. If you don't get a result on a weekend, if you play the game and you get points, then obviously, you'd obviously rather have that. But at the moment, it's probably not a bad thing. It's give us a bit of a break because we had very poor preparation last week in terms of the weather, and it means that we've got a better chance of preparation going into the Grimsby game, which is a equally big game as the Barnet game was going to be.
When you're in the situation that you're in and you glance at the league table, as a manager, do you look at it thinking we'd rather have had the game rearranged or we'd rather always have the points on the board?
No, you'd rather have points on the board are the most important thing. But I think everybody knew going into Saturday there was going to be a lot of games off, and I think it's just one of those weekends where you're right off really, and you hope that when the game comes round again, you'd have to say for ourselves that we're in better form than we are at the moment. So for us, it's a chance, like I say, to regroup. The players were able to train indoors on the Friday and do a little bit of running, and then to start afresh with having a little bit of a break. I think it's good to clear your head and start fresh on the Monday.
You can also look at it and think when the game is rearranged, Tom Pope might be back available again. He's up today. How hopeful are you of a quick recovery?
You're always hopeful that players can come back quickly, but you can't make the mistake of rushing somebody back and then injury flaring up again. I think you've got to be sensible with Tom. He's obviously the type of person that wants to play, and but you've got to sometimes guard against him playing too early. But we will be sensible because we know how important he is. But like I've said, it gives other players at the club an opportunity, knowing that Tom's not going to be able to play. It gives them an opportunity where they might think, then, if I do well, I can stay in the team.
What are you thinking for cover? Because you've had a long time to think about it now with the game being called off. You've got options, it's just that hardly any of them have proven themselves.
I know in my mind who will play, but we've got a week's training, and like I say, you're hoping that people can train well and who desperately want to get the shirt for Saturday, and we'll be in the position where we can train on grass this week, give players an opportunity, and then it's up to them to show that they want it.
So even though you've got an idea in your head, and you probably had an idea in your head for the Barnet game as well, this week's training could make all the difference going into the Grimsby game?
It would take a lot to change your mind, but it would be silly to discount anyone, because you've got there's pluses and minuses against whoever plays, but they've all got the same goal, and they've all got the same chance that once they get picked, they've got to produce on the pitch. And I think a player can always say he's not had chances, but once you do get the chance, then you've got to do your talking on the pitch.
Where's Dan Turner at, in your opinion? Because he's got 3 goals so far this season, but he's just been in here and he's openly said he's got no excuses. When you've brought him on, he's not being good enough. Where's he at in terms of pushing for a first team place?
He will be considered like all the other forwards. There's no problem with Dan. I felt he needed to go out on loan to try and experience getting some more football. I think he learned that it's not easy, even dropping down a couple of leagues. It's difficult in those leagues as well, and he's got his career in front of him, and he's got to, at the end of the day, he's got to make sure that he can forge a career, because he's got a lot of years to play. But the main thing is that he's realised that he's not deluded, and he knows that when he's had chances he's not done as well as he would have liked. And I always think that's a good sign, that a player realises that, and he knows then that he has to do more to justify playing.
As a manager, and you could get a different answer depending on who you put this question to, how hard is it to block out sentiment with players? Because obviously someone like Dan Turner is a homegrown player, all the supporters therefore want to see him play.
there's no sentiment because it's our job's on the line, my job on the line, people at the club's job's on the line. There can be no sentiment. We just have to try and pick the team that we think is going to get a result. There's no bias towards anybody, and there's no hidden agendas, because we're in a desperate situation, and you'd be silly to not pick anybody who you think can get us out of the position we're in.
And just finally, an injury update. How's Anthony Kay progressing?
Well, Anthony's a good professional. He does everything right to make sure that he gets himself fit, and he's doing the necessary work to put himself in a position that we can pick him as early for the squad as early as possible. And I know we don't have a problem with players like him, because we know he's professional and he wants to play, but he'll do all the rehab properly, and he'll put himself in a position where at the earliest opportunity he can come back.